Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live, if you're reviewing the recorded version, thank you for taking the time to do that. All right, so this is the best time of the year, and playoff assignments came out this afternoon, so you now know where you're going Friday night. The weather forecast looks fabulous for football. Some great matchups. I was looking this afternoon at the teams that are playing in district finals, and most of them are local rivals. So it's just going to be a great atmosphere. Congratulations to everyone. Just make sure you stay humble. And the way you stay humble is to respect the game. And part of respecting the game is to prepare and be ready to roll and do the very, very best job you can on every snap. We need to expect to be challenged. We're dealing with the best teams, the best players, the best coaches, and we're going to see their very best, and we'll probably get surprised. And the more that our radar is up, the less impact those surprise plays will have on us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our plays for tonight. We're going to start with plays from scrimmage, and then when we get through those, we're going to have Bob Foss talk about kicking plays. All right, this first clip is going to be a pass that's going to come to the bottom of the screen. And the catch is really no problem, but what we're going to have is a block that's executed by the widest receiver before the ball arrives to the trailing wingback. So what we have here is a two-step process. We should recognize that the wide receiver is in blocking mode, and we should look at the time when he executes that block and then look back to the quarterback, or in this case, look to the receiver to see if the ball has arrived. Now, if it's bang, bang, if it's just basically a fraction of a second before the ball arrives, that would be too technical. But here you can see that clearly the block is executed and the ball has not yet arrived. So that's a foul we want to get down for OPI. All right, next clip. This is going to be a play that's going to come wide also to the bottom of the screen. And what we're going to get is our back judge doing a tremendous job recognizing the interference back into the field, and he's going to pick up a blindside block that occurs just to the top of the numbers. Now, if we get caught, back judges, ball watching, looking to see if the guy is going to run out of bounds, we're likely just to see this flash and not see how this guy ends up on his back. So we've got to look back into the field and be prepared to deal with blocking action that comes in our direction. All right, what we're going to get is a running quarterback here. This is an RPO quarterback, and it looks like he wants to throw the ball. No receiver he wants to throw to. The linemen do an outstanding job making sure that they stay home. Clearly, no one beyond 2 yards. So that's point number one, line of scrimmage people. We've got to be aware of where our linemen are compared to the line of scrimmage, in addition to our other responsibilities of receivers. Now, he ends up tucking this ball, and it's not a big deal at the tackle. The other point to point out here is that we have a potential blindside block that comes from one of the big guys when the quarterback comes back towards the bottom of the screen. Now, in this particular case, what we're going to see is that this is really more of a screen as opposed to a vicious block. He just kind of gets in the way. There's really not a lot of force. Yeah, the guy goes to the ground, but it just lacks the intensity that we're looking for when we're considering a blindside block. So this was a good pass by the crew. The umpire would have a look at that. So should the short wing, particularly the one that's at the bottom of the screen that this action is coming towards. We should anticipate this block when the quarterback cuts back to the middle. So good job on the team's part making sure they stay legal, and also by the crew's part, recognizing that that block lacked intensity. All right, what we're going to get next is a catch, no catch. This is clip 45, Gregor. Now, we've been talking throughout the year about the process of the catch. This catch is going to go to, or catch, no catch is going to go to the top of the screen. And you can see that just about the time that the ball arrives, the receiver takes on heavy contact from the defensive player and the ball is knocked loose. Now, the ball is firmly secured in his hands, but even without high definition and a close-up, believe that we can all see that he has not had the opportunity to put the ball away, let alone do something common to the game. So good decision by the line of scrimmage official, making this incomplete. Next clip is also going to be a catch, no catch. And the best look we're going to get is from the press box view. And in this particular case, it's going to be a potential interception. Now, this opens up nicely to the short wing, and the other official that might well have an opportunity to help us here is the umpire. And as you can see, he spins as the ball is released. But we have our short wing remaining stationary, watching the ball in, making sure that the ball does not hit the ground. Hands are underneath the ball. The player is going to the ground, obviously, so he has to survive the ground, and in this particular case, he does. Short wing comes down, squares it off, and we have a forward progress spot at about the 2-yard line. Really, really well done. All right, this next clip is going to be a play that doesn't happen real often. We're going to get a pass that's going to go deep towards the end zone to the left of the screen. And what's going to happen is that the defensive back, the ball gets tipped around, and the defensive back intercepts the ball with his momentum going towards the goal line. Now, without a momentum rule, this would be a safety because clearly this ball is possessed a good 2, maybe 2.5 yards into the end zone. So the momentum rule is intended to really take the disadvantage away from the defense, in this particular case, from making a great play. So in this particular case, this is not a touchback. The signal is given for touchback. What we really need to have, the beanbag goes out here. We're thinking about it, we put the beanbag down, but this is not a touchback. What we're going to have is a momentum, and we're going to put the ball in about the 2-yard line. So we just needed a little bit of time to talk through in our own minds this particular situation. Now in 5-person, it may be necessary for one of the wing officials to come down and have a conversation with the back judge about a ruling here, because we need to ensure that this is truly a touchback if that's what we're going to rule. Now, in this particular case, because we've given a touchback signal, my recommendation would be for the back judge to go to the referee and say, I've signaled touchback, but what we really have is momentum, and we need to correct the signal that I gave on the field. This belongs to team B at the 2-yard line. Then the referee will flip on the microphone and simply say the ruling on the field is an intercepted pass with momentum. By rule, the ball is spotted at the 2-yard line, 1st and 10. Then mark the ball ready for play, and away we go. All right, next clip is going to be a tight goal line, sideline catch towards the top of the screen. Now, line of scrimmage official at the top of the screen does a nice job. His quarterback is threatened, lots of business there, so clearly needs to stay home to deal with that issue. This is one of the shortcomings of 5-person mechanics. If this was a 7-person game, we would have a deep wing right at the goal line extended, and this would be a relatively easy call to make. But short wing comes down, and we're going to have a conference between the back judge and the short wing about what we have. Now, the short wing can rule as far as the sideline. If the catch is good, he should also be ruling, did he survive the ground? Because the receiver is clearly going to the ground. What he may not know is whether this ball penetrated the goal line. That's where perhaps we can get some help from the back judge. Now, in this particular case, he's moved off of the goal line. We can't see the other receivers in the area. Perhaps there was a receiver that took him deep. If there wasn't a receiver that took him deep, you might give a little bit of ground into the end zone, but clearly should be able to come back and get to the goal line as we see this play develop and provide support and assistance to our short wing. It does look like that the receiver touches down in the end zone and therefore would be entitled to goal line extended. This is probably a touchdown, but certainly a difficult play to officiate with 5 officials. Definitely something that you want to talk about in your pregame this week in terms of how you're going to handle plays at the goal line pylon. All right, next clip. Here we're going to get good mechanics by our back judge. Now, again, this would be a play that would be fairly simple in 7-person mechanics, a little more complicated in 5, because the back judge now is pretty much the sole determiner in terms of the legality of this contact between the DB and the wide receiver. And as you can see here, at no point does the defensive back look back at the ball. He's not playing the ball. He makes early contact with the receiver. The receiver is attempting to adjust to the ball and is unable to do so because of the contact from the defensive back. So this is a correct call for DPI. Now, coincidentally on this play, the referee had a flag for roughing the passer. So there actually are 2 fouls here against Team B. But we get the play right. We finish the play with an incomplete signal. The only thing that I would ask the back judge to do here is to pause, make sure that the players separate and there's no chance of foul. They are free of foul from each other before we chase the ball. We will get a ball for you. But overall, well done. All right, next clip. This is going to be a really tough play for the back judge. We have a long run that's going to occur. It's going to come out of a bunch of players. As soon as you see that runner get clear of that last defender, your assumption needs to be, back judges, that he's going to take this to the house. Now, that's not a time to backpedal. That's not a time to shuffle. That's a time to open up the hip with your shoulder square to the sideline and get busy getting some depth and hopefully get back to the goal line. So if you let this run a little bit further here, Gregor, back judge does a pretty good job, stays within the hash marks. If you let it run and he stopped short of the goal line, if you let it run just a little bit, you can see that the back judge just comes into the picture. He was at the goal line, and now you can see the short wing coming down to mark the forward progress spot. The back judge, rather than coming up and taking forward progress, should, with 0-2-0 or verbally, give a yard line where we need to spot the ball for the succeeding spot. But overall, well handled by the back judge and the short wing hustling downfield. All right, this should be number 84, Gregor. This is going to be a pass and run. The defensive back is beaten and the chase is on. Now, this goes about 85 yards. And what's nice is you can see that our back judge read the play correctly, got back to the goal line, was stationary in the event that something unforeseen would happen, like a defensive player knocking the ball loose from the runner, or that the runner drops the ball before breaking the plane of the goal line. There are a number of scenarios that could happen there, but this was really a great hustle play, good technique, read and react so that we cover this play. Really, really well done. The way we do that is through alertness and reading and reacting when we see that there's the potential for a play like this to break. Good job. All right, number 74. This is also going to be a long running play. Now, you've heard me talk. If you've been a part of our program throughout the year, we can't assume. We get in trouble when we assume just about anything at any point in life. And here I counted, and this runner broke 7 or 8 tackles before he got to the goal line. Now, this is the last play of the first half. So there's really no reason, back judges, why we should get beat to the goal line. Because if he gets tackled anywhere short of the goal line, the half is over. Teams go to the locker room and we start over with a kickoff to begin the second half. So there's no need to dally here. Get all the way to the goal line and then work back if necessary. We just get to the goal line. It's possible that our vision was blocked a bit by players. But we can't assume that players are going to be tackled nor driven out of bounds or any other scenario other than the fact that they may take it all the way for a score. All right, this should be number 89. We're going to get a scramble that's going to come to the bottom of the screen. Now, back judge, you need to respect the fact that this may well be a pass that's going to go downfield. Would expect that. You would be deep downfield, deep in the middle, prepared to deal with something that goes deep. And in this particular case, that doesn't happen. And again, this is an RPO quarterback, so he's pretty familiar with running the ball, but he's out of bounds and Zero takes a shot at him. Unfortunately, a dangerous situation for both players, particularly the runner, and we get a flag down for UNR late hit out of bounds. Also really happy with the reaction of the short wing giving ground, getting into the offense's backfield to be able to allow the runner to go in front of him, not only for his own protection, but also a good look at blocking angles. Not to mention this foul that is created against the quarterback by this defensive player. Really well done by the short wing. All right, number 5. All right, you can see the player leaving the field. Now, this is the 5th play of the game. And the green team obviously has been confused. They had to take a timeout in the first series of downs because they had too many players on the field. Now, we've talked about the fact, back judges, that we don't want to get involved in forward progress. We want the umpire and the short wing to handle those things. At times, perhaps the referee, but we want to stay out of that. We want to make sure that we keep our cushion, we keep the big picture, and this is part of the reason why. We need to know the comings and the goings of the Team B bench area in terms of people coming on and off the field so that we don't get surprised, and we certainly don't want to play with more than 11 on the field. So this is just a good reminder for our back judges. A, stay out of forward progress, and B, as a part of your pre-snap routine, make sure that you're keeping track of the number of Team B players entering the game and conversely, the number of B players that are leaving. All right, now this next clip also involves illegal substitution. What we're going to have, Gregor, go to the next clip. Now, in this particular case, it's the opposite team going off the field. They had too many players on the field. And in this particular case, the player gets off the field. Now you'll notice that he cuts through what would be the line of scrimmage. Now we're not going to foul that for encroachment. He's a replaced player. He's trying to leave. If this was a 7-person game, the responsibility of determining whether that player got off the field or not would be with the deep wing on that side of the field. In this instance, we don't have a deep wing. So by default, we've got to put that responsibility on the short wing to know whether he gets off the field or not. But once again, we need to know whether this is the 12th or the 13th player leaving, or whether this is they're actually going to be playing with less than 11, that he really was the 11th player. Next clip. All right, what we're going to get is a run to the right of the screen after completing a catch. Now we have some mechanical issues here. Once this pass is collected by this receiver, the only thing that the number one priority for the short wing has got to get to goal line extended. Now we don't do that here, and only this deep wing or the short wing could tell us why that didn't occur. But instead of being like at that hash mark straight behind the goal line to be able to determine what happens here at the pylon, we stay behind it, and we don't get a clear picture of in terms of where the ball is, whether it gets inside the pylon or not. Now, here, even not being at the goal line, he knocks the pylon over. So the only way this is not a score would be if he stepped out of bounds on the sideline. And without being too critical, it does not appear that the runner stepped out of bounds. So therefore, this should have been a score, because when you touch the pylon after being in the field of play, you get goal line extended, and we're going to acknowledge touching the pylon as being inside or breaking the plane of the goal line. All right, next clip. Unusual formation, we have a double-double with wingbacks. Now, the tight end breaks loose over here at the top of the screen, and pretty quickly the defense realizes that that's not a good thing. They were expecting a run. They attempt to hold this player, and because he's bigger, stronger, faster, he's able to break through. Now, I don't see a foul by either one of those players that contacted him, because it didn't take away speed or balance. He continued to run his route. What we may have, and we can't tell because we don't have an end zone view, is whether there was contact prior to the ball arriving, because clearly the defensive back is not playing the ball. Short wing does a nice job coming down the field. I would like to see the short wing come to a stop before he gets to the goal line, to be stationary at the mesh point to make a decision in terms of whether this pass is possessed or not. Clearly, he's in the end zone, so the goal line is not going to be a factor. And then the other factor, or the teaching point here, would be that back judge may well be able to contribute something in terms of whether there's early contact, because the defensive back is not playing the ball, and might also contribute if the receiver initially gets his hands on the ball but does not survive the ground. In this case, pretty obvious incomplete pass, but another example of collaboration between our short wing and our back judge. All right, 103. Now, this play is just going to be outstanding work by our back judge. He's going to read, you can see he leaves the goal line and gets back to the end line, and sure enough, here comes that pattern that threatens the end line. That's about a step before it gets to the end line, but it's close enough where we needed to be back there to be able to have this play covered. So really great read here by the back judge, leaves the goal line, sees that receiver coming. Maybe this was a reflection of good scouting of this. This was Lake Orion. Maybe that was just good scouting on his part to be able to know that that's a route that they run. For whatever reason, however we got there, it was very, very well done to have this covered on the end line, an important mechanic that we have to faithfully execute. All right. This is 141, Gregor. Now, this is late in the game. This is clip 141. The offensive team, Team A, needs to score badly. So when they throw deep, what line do we have to defend? Everyone on this call should know that the line that we have to defend is the goal line. Now, we let these players get up on us, and that's a mistake. We don't have nearly the vision that we need to have because we're looking for angles, not proximity for the mesh point. And in this particular case, these players get on about the same plane as the umpire, or excuse me, the back judge when this ball arrives. The other thing to consider is if this pass is completed, we're going to need to be able to make a determination whether the ball broke the plane by the runner or the receiver in this particular case. So we've got to give depth. Distance is your friend. Make sure you respect your friend. All right, I've got one more clip that we're going to get to close out the night. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to stop for a moment. And most of you know Bob Foss. Bob is going to talk about some kicking plays that really need our attention, both scrimmage kicks as well as we're beginning with free kicks. So, Bob, thank you for your participation. Go ahead and get started.
All right, thanks, Rich. Great, glad to be here. This play is interesting. It's Rich mentioned pre-snap routine. Of course, we don't have a snap on this play, but you know, having in your head what could possibly happen before the kick or before a regular scrimmage snap. In this case, we have an up back, if you will, who actually kicks the ball, but we had the kicker who started more than 5 yards. So it's a good job by this crew to know that rule exists. And of course, we have a dead ball foul, and I'm not sure if the flag came from the referee or the line of scrimmage on this play, but it's certainly a good job to recognize the rule and get this foul. What do I do next, Gregor? Another kickoff, and again, in 5-person, we're going to have the back judge and the umpire on the kicking team's restraining line, head linesman and line judge on the receiving team's restraining line. It's really important to not move. This crew doesn't move much, but you want to move not at all until the play is over or until you have to move. And in this case, we really don't have to. Ultimately, come up with the right decision on this one. They're prepared for an onside kick, and then they close in after the fact. But it's important to know that the restraining line, we need to know where that ball is touched, whether it's before 10 yards or after 10 yards, and who touches it. We also need to know if anybody was blocking by the kicking team. In this case, they're not. But that'll be up to the back judge and umpire to make sure that they have an idea who is blocking and where they're blocking and where that ball is in relation to the block. Next one's another kick, another kickoff. We get a deep kick. Very important to remember to let the kicking team players pass us as back judge and umpire before we move onto the field. We want to hustle onto the field, though. We're going to get an illegal blindside block really right in the middle of the field. We kind of expect that the back judge and umpire, not kind of expect, we absolutely expect that the back judge and umpire are looking in this area. If you go to the end zone view, you'll be able to notice that at the time of this block, there's no action around the receiver. So the referee is able to get his eyes upfield, and I think it's the referee who actually gets this flag, but that's that illegal blindside block that that we absolutely have to have. We also like to see a little more hustle maybe out of our umpire. Certainly we don't have goal line responsibility, but you know, hustling on the field is going to look better for the crew rather than strolling. Next play, Rich, I'm going to need help with this one. I'm not sure what our point was for this play.
In this particular situation, it's one of those mid-range kicks that can be problematic. So we need to make sure that we get our short wing coming up. In terms of what and this is opposite the press box, so this would be the back judge. The back judge has to make a determination whether this sideline is going to be challenged and how far downfield. In this particular case, it isn't challenged. So therefore, we need to get the back judge into the numbers. Otherwise, we end up with the same angle as we get from the short wing on blocking. So that was the purpose of this clip.
Okay, that's very good. Next play is a punt. We're going to get a pretty good punt out of this kid, and you know, drives the receiver back. Our back judge is going to want to start about maybe 5 to 8 yards behind the deepest receiver. Does a good job of staying inside the hash, but we just need to move back a little bit quicker with a little more purpose. We want to keep that play boxed in with the line of scrimmage, so that we're not looking straight down the line at the end of the play at the ball, but being able to look back upfield so that we can have an eye on any potential illegal blocks.
Bob, here, the other thing on this, if the ball bounces the other way back towards the goal line, he is going to be in crisis mode here to cover this ball as it may proceed back towards the goal line. So we need to have that proper cushion and adjust to the depth of the kick, which we don't do here.
Next, oops, I clicked the wrong direction. The next play is another punt. And on this one, we're snapping inside the 50. So the back judge has started on the goal line, which is pretty good, even though he's deeper than we would normally want. He's already got that goal line covered, which is absolutely fine. We get a signal from the receiver, but he's keeping his hands fairly stationary below the shoulders. We don't have any invalid fair catch signal here. This is good signal by that receiver. Now we need to know if this ball is hitting anybody. I think the end zone view of this one, there's a player coming across the 30-yard line, kind of the second wave, that may hit this number 58 right there in the middle. Very, very tough to tell whether it touches them or not. Certainly the kicking team is going to claim that it touched him. But after we clear that receiver, back judge has to get his eyes upfield, and he may need help from our line of scrimmage official who's coming down his sideline.
This is a very difficult play, whether it's in 8, 7, or certainly in 5. This is a play, all hands on deck.
This is a play that was made for replay.
Correct. Now, in most cases, the umpire, after he clears the players, will spin, but here you can see the umpire is occupied by two players that go to the turf. So he's out of the play. But between the two short wings, hopefully we can get a look at this and have an opinion. The back judge is really not going to be able to tell with any certainty what happened. He may have some suspicions. I suppose potentially if the referee had good fortune, might be able to look through this and be able to piece this together. But it may be necessary for the entire crew to come together or a couple of officials to come together to come up with a ruling on the field. After that conference has occurred, it is critical that the referee use the microphone and say the ruling on the field is that the ball was untouched by the receiving team and down by the kicking team at such and such a spot. Or I said that wrong. Untouched by the kicking team, down by the receiving team at such and such a spot, first down.
Rich, I actually want to add one other point here too. If knowing that the umpire is typically going to turn with this play, I mean, I understand that he doesn't because this action happens right in front of him. But if the umpire does turn with this play, the referee certainly can clean up that mess that the umpire happens to catch here. And if the umpire had turned, the referee should be able to cover that for him. And maybe the umpire would be able to catch that that ball being tipped or not in the middle of the field behind him. Now the kickback judge does a really good job here of keeping his distance. You just don't need to squeeze in this close. Very, very good depth. Really don't need to get outside the hash marks. Even after the play's over, we end up with very similar angle, although from the opposite side, to what our line of scrimmage has. And we'll do a better job of officiating dead ball action if we keep our distance. Right here, just inside the numbers, closer to the middle of the field rather than outside the hash.
Think about this from the standpoint, if you run that back a few clicks, Gregor, before he makes the commitment to go straight ahead. Now, once again, we anticipate that he's going to go straight up, but let's say he goes to his right instead of straight up the field. So he comes towards the bottom of the screen, right? What we have here is the back judge is really locked into that sideline as opposed to staying in the middle of the field until we've fully determined the direction of the return.
We're good. Next. The next play, we're going to get a surprise kick. The offense starts in regular scrimmage formation, not scrimmage kick formation. But if you notice, it's fourth down. And back judge again adjusts appropriately. If he were in an absolute full sprint, he may not still get deeper than this ball, but that is our goal nonetheless. As soon as that ball is kicked and you realize that they're not going to throw a pass or run a play, we need to get back. And he's fortunate that the ball didn't get to the goal line and that there are only two kicking team players down there. But our focus needs to be on getting as deep as we can, as quick as we can. And then keeping our eye on the ball. You know what?
What should our football IQ tell us, back judges? It's fourth down. It's from the -40. This is what clip number? This is still
-30, actually, Rich.
Yeah. So this is still fairly early in the game. Should we really be surprised that we get a quick kick? No. No, that's got to be on our mind. Now, he catches it clean, and other than turning his back to all of the players, the reaction is pretty good. That's a technique that we've been talking about all year in terms of when you're giving ground, you can turn your torso while you're in the process of going north and south so that your shoulders are east and west. You're not going to be quite as fast, but you'll be able to see players. Here, there's not a lot to see, but that's unusual. Usually you have opponents. So we'll sacrifice a little bit of speed for being able to keep the players within our purview.
All right, next. Another pretty good punt. Back judge is in really good position, deeper than the deepest receiver. He's in the middle of the field. We get a point again, like a couple of plays ago from our receiver. But he again has his hands above his shoulders and he's only pointing, so there's no waving motion, no invalid signal. Our line of scrimmage comes down, takes the spot, and back judge closes in from a good angle. It's a good contrast play to what we had just a few minutes ago, where this is exactly how we want it to look. Back in case the ball bounces the wrong way. If that receiver decides to swoop in there and pick up the ball, he's in good position to have eyes on blocks around that action also. Not anticipating that this ball is going to be dead, even though it turns out to be that way. Yeah, just three more. The next one, get beat a little bit on this play. I mean, this Lake Orion kicker has already proven that he can get the ball pretty deep. I'm not sure if we can, we don't have an angle on where this back judge started on this play. But if that kick goes deeper than our deepest receiver and he's adjusting deeper, we need to adjust deeper also. We'd like to be around the 10-yard line right now.
When we're out on the field before the game, inspecting the field and supervising the warm-ups, both teams' punters will kick the ball. All right. So that's a perfect opportunity for you to affirm in your own mind what you've seen on video in terms of their ability. We should not be surprised when we find that we've got a good punter. We shouldn't be surprised by the wind, both east and west or north and south, depending on which direction the wind is blowing. Use that time out on the field to not only warm up by taking some punts and some plays from scrimmage, but also to, in your own mind, cement what sort of kickers you're going to be dealing with so that we don't get surprised.
All right, next. The field goal that's going to be blocked. And this is a 7-man crew, so we're going to ignore the umpire and side judge who are standing on this play, but our back judge and umpire are going to be standing underneath the goalpost. Get a block in the back during this return. And our line of scrimmage official does a pretty good job. I mean, these kids are getting faster and faster. So we do our best to cover this goal line right here. And then on the other side, when he gets around the end, our line of scrimmage official has a flag for that block in the back and continues to follow the play. Even after getting the flag down, we know that's probably, well, we know it's coming back, but that's a pretty good hustle to do his best that he can to get to the goal line at the other end.
We have to know before every game and remind
You can
each
pause it right here too, Gregor.
we have to remind each other before every game that there is a difference in the rule between PATs that are unsuccessful and field goal attempts. Field goal attempts are considered scrimmage kicks. And in high school football, had this white player not picked up the ball at the 1 yard line and it had rolled dead there, that's where Team B would assume possession of the ball.
After this return starts, also our back judge and umpire who are under the goalpost are going to need to hustle upfield as much as they possibly can. We're going to lose sight of both of them pretty quickly, but up the field rather than to the sideline here. Referee starts to pull a flag and he's got a little commotion right in front of him that draws his attention for just a second. He makes sure that there's no extracurricular activity with those two players, gets his flag down, and then he can continue to try to chase to the goal line too, but he's already lost his chance, not inappropriately, but he can follow behind and check for any other players that are maybe creating havoc with each other.
Rich, I know this is mainly 5 men supposedly, but for future reference, would this be a reverse mechanics situation in 7 men?
Absolutely. For sure. We would want the short wing to stay ahead of this to the best of his or her ability. And we would expect then that officials would be following from behind. And in this particular case, the field judge and the back judge would be coming from a distance, but it still would be reverse mechanics.
Swinging gate. There's a lot going on in this play. We'll start with where we're going to stand. This is not a scrimmage kick formation because we do not have a kicker and holder in position. So we're going to have our back judge underneath the goalpost and our umpire over the ball. Back judge might shade towards the gate over here, to our left, but still we're going to start in normal position and then shift the umpire under the goalpost after this team shifts. We also need to know the rules. If they're not in scrimmage kick formation, somebody's going to have to count to make sure that we have 5 players who are numbered 50 through 79 on the line of scrimmage. That's really going to fall on the referee and the umpire. We have
here I would recommend that the umpire sort of split the difference between the snapper and the muddle over there to his right. And part of the reason for that would be the very point that Bob just made. What do we have for numbers over there? We need to make sure that if they are not in scrimmage kick formation, they have 5 50 through 79s. Now, can the short wing help with that? Absolutely. Can the referee help with it? Absolutely. But there should be multiple people thinking, talking with O2O to make sure that if what happens here happens Friday night, that we had the 5 players that we needed to make the formation legal.
let's run this through and we'll watch the back judge for a second here also. Since this is really just a scrimmage play, we want to move if we have to. As much as possible, we want to officiate plays from a stationary position, but if they force us to move, we can. We want to ask ourselves if we're moving for a reason or if we're just wandering on the field because that's the direction of the play. think the back judge could probably stay stationary on this play and keep his eyes open for pass interference or holding by the defense. But a good signal from the line of scrimmage. And in good position. Is there any other detail on this play that you want to cover, Rich?
That's plenty. We just have to be alert and we need to talk about it and know what the potential issues may be when we have a muddle huddle.
Hey, Rich,
that's
can I
the
ask you a question on that?
Please.
Number 8 out here. Would you consider this for OPI? He looks like he runs straight into his defensive back.
Yeah, that's blocking mode. Where's his pass touched?
Looks like in the end zone.
Mm-hmm. It's the responsibility of Team A to avoid contact, or at least attempt to get around it. And here you can see he comes out and his intentions are pretty clear. Good pickup right here. All righty, are we through our kicking plays?
We are.
All right, we've got one more clip, and Gregor, don't run it yet. Just bring up the formation. This will be our winder-upper for the night, 126. All right, so we have talked throughout the season about rules knowledge and transitioning from one set of rules to another. We've talked about remaining alert. We've talked about at the end of the play, if something unusual happens, that we need to get together because our collective knowledge and experience and information may make the difference in terms of how a play ends up being officiated or ruled at the end of the play. So what we have here, this is a play early in the fourth quarter. It's still a close game between these two teams. 4th down and 9 yards to go. All right, so go ahead and run it. Punt formation. So
Wow.
from a crew standpoint, what were we expecting? We were expecting a kick. We did not get a kick. All right, so now we have a running play that develops into a passing play. So all those rules we're thinking about relative to the kicking game are out the window. And now we're officiating this play as a scrimmage play. So questions should be popping up all over the place. This doesn't look right. Something must have been wrong here. The offensive team ends up getting a first down, not only first down, but fairly close to the goal line before this is finally brought to a halt. Now, you may have noticed that the snapper, if you let it run, he's the first one down the field. Snapper's number 14. So let's say at the end of this play, 14 catches a pass. Are we going to know it? Is someone on the crew going to be able to say, wait a minute now, 14 was covered. Yeah, he's got a good number, but he's the snapper and was not on the end of the line. We have illegal touching. If he doesn't touch the pass, then there's the potential that because he's ineligible by position, that we have ineligible downfield. However, in this instance, the pass is touched well behind the line of scrimmage. But in the helter-skelter of how this play breaks down, if someone on the field does not have the awareness that the pass is touched behind the line, we could inadvertently enforce a foul that we should not have. Now, obviously, because the pass is touched behind the line, the ineligible downfield doesn't mean anything because he could be downfield because the pass was touched behind the line. But we have all those factors to take into consideration. Now, I was at this game because my grandson plays for Springport, the team in blue. What I was most proud of at the end of this play is that this crew came together. After this play was over, they brought everyone from all of the positions and they huddled. And I don't know what they talked about, but at the end of the play, and of course the coach on the visiting sideline wanted something, as you would expect. And after conversing, they determined that everything was legal, the advance was proper, and that the ball belonged to Team A. But they did everything right. Now, did they have some good fortune? Probably. But it was impressive how, whether it was the referee, whoever made the decision did a good thing by bringing everyone together just to make sure that no one had information that would be contrary to how this play ended up. So there's lots of teaching points here. We talk all the time about crew communication, rules knowledge, being able to be adaptive to situations that happen on the field. And lo and behold, here's living proof that we have to be prepared for anything on the field at any time. So something to talk about this week, lots of things to talk about from our training tape tonight. Gregor, you can stop the video. As I said in the beginning, this is the best time of the year. It's football weather all the way, and we've got the best teams, the best players, the best coaches. There's some great matchups this week. It should be a privilege to be on the field and enjoy the experience, and just make sure that you're prepared and that you give both teams your very best Friday night. Have no regrets when you leave the field together, individually and collectively, that you can say to yourself that you have nothing that you regretted that you did or you didn't do during that particular game. And if you do that, you'll have every reason to be proud and enjoy the moment and celebrate what you accomplished in this particular game. If you have the good fortune to be continuing forward in the playoffs, congratulations. If right now your schedule is closing out this week, I wouldn't pack away my equipment just yet. Things have a way of changing. Just a year or so ago, if I had called the MHSA office 5 minutes sooner, one of our people would have been on a semifinal game because they had a last minute cancellation and they were looking for a deep wing. And I called for something completely different. And during the course of the conversation with Will McCoy, found out that he had just hung up assigning someone who didn't expect to work. And had my call come to him before that call, probably our person is on that game. So you got to be ready. And until it's all said and done, that's the way you should look at it. And if you get that call, even on Friday afternoon, that you're ready to go wherever they need you to go to work whatever position they need you to fill on the field that night. So all the best this week. Have fun with it. We will continue with this series again a week from tonight with district final games. Encourage you to send clips or to send playlists or just give me the game and the clip number that you'd like me to look at, because that's where we get the best plays for all of us to learn from. So again, good luck, have fun. Thanks for joining us tonight.